Rangers! I'm so excited I finally have this movie. I'm so excited to dive into it. I haven't done a special features review in quite some time. I love special features on Blu-rays, DVDs, all this. I just love special features. I really do. So went through some of the special features here on the back. There's some good ones. Let's review them. Welcome to Durbania. I'm Durbin, super excited to finally have Power Rangers. This was such a surprise movie for me this year, and I really enjoyed it. I haven't watched the movie since I just got it here. I just kind of went through the special features so I could do this video, but I'm super excited to watch this. As you can see, this is my 4K with Blu-ray edition. I'm so excited to finally have a 4K disc. It's just exciting. I do not have a 4K TV, so it's actually quite pointless to me. But the day will come one day, I don't know when, but someday in my lifetime, I will have a 4K TV, and then this will have paid off. But it does have a Blu-ray disc in there, so I still get to watch the movie, and I'm beyond excited. So, going through some of these special features, a little thing that I started a little while back, and, I don't know, it's not super consistent because, like a lot of the really super interesting movies that have great special features aren't always coming out all the time, and so it's really cool when one comes out that I'm really excited about. I'm really excited to see how they made it and what went on behind the scenes. And so I just thought I'd go ahead and dive into some of that with Power Rangers because there was a lot with Power Rangers I was curious about and I was excited to dive into those special features. So if you look at the back here where it says Rangers then to now, building the team, beyond the Rangers, suiting up, Rangers welcome to training, Rangers in the wild, it's morphin' time, all of that is part of like really a great big long featurette type deal. Now they're all individual little mini featurettes, so you don't have to click play all like I did and go through and watch them all in one sitting. You could actually pick the ones that interest you most and things like that. But I think overall this was a very, very fascinating thing. When you look at Rangers then to now and things like building the team, both of those are very nostalgia driven things. And what I liked about watching those features is it shows the respect they had for the original Japanese show. It shows the respect they had for the show in the 90s when it hit the States back in 1993. It just shows a lot of the respect they had for the show, the respect they had for the characters. And when you're watching a movie like this, like, you want to hear that. You want to hear that the people directing it, you want to hear that the people producing it and writing it didn't look at it and go, that show was so corny. Let's make a gritty version so we can actually do a good version of that. And that was not their attitude at all. Their attitude was they loved the show growing up. They loved the show back in the day. And they were all excited, actors included, all super excited for this opportunity to put this movie together. Now, a common thread that kept coming up as I was going through the back here and watching these things is they had a lot of respect, not just for like the source material of the Power Rangers, but they had a lot of respect for movies in the 80s. And I think one of the most interesting points that came up in the special features from the writers, producers, and directors is what they were talking about. Movies in the 80s a lot of times had a good tonal balance. In other words, you could watch a movie from the 80s and there are moments that are just campy. So you laugh because they're corny, they're campy. Then you have those really, same movie, some really good, heartfelt moments. Same movie, you have some things that are kind of borderline scary looking and things like that. And I felt that when I saw this movie. One of the things you could do is you could check out my reviews for this movie. But I thought this movie did a really good job with that. Like, it had heart. Like, it did a good job attaching you to the characters, so it had that balance and it had those heartfelt moments. Rita Repulsa, she was repulsive. Well, I wouldn't say really, really frightening, but she's still frightening enough that there's like moments where I was like, oh my gosh, can the kids in here take this? Because she's kind of scary, man. She's kind of scary. I was digging on that. I thought that was cool. And then the movie, was campy. I mean, the scene where you have all the Zords running together and you hear, "Go, go, Power Rangers!" I mean, it was so campy. It was so cheesy. And oh my gosh, they have a fight scene where Billy rips the head off of Putty and he throws it. He's like, "Heads up!" Which is this cheesy, campy moments. But, I mean, if the movie was strictly that, and it was strictly what the 90s shows were, then I probably would have hated this movie. But they said that. They said that in this movie. You expect one thing when you're going into a television show. You expect another thing when you're going into a movie. And so they were just talking about balancing the tones. And I thought that was really interesting in the interviews and these different sections of the special features, that was a reoccurring theme, that they had a respect for 80s movies. They had a respect for how 80s movies had the ability to do tonal balance, whereas nowadays we pick all dark and gritty, or we pick light and comedy, or we pick whatever. but back then they had good tonal balance, and so that's what they went for in this movie, was a really good tonal balance. The other thing that was kind of interesting, and you see it, if you saw this movie, you see it. It's very Breakfast Clubby. That's kind of what it was. I think it was Billy in one of the interviews. He said it's like the Breakfast Club meets Guardians of the Galaxy, and Power Rangers is their child. And so, like, it's kind of got the best elements of both. And what was really interesting, they were talking about in some of the scenes where they really wanted to build chemistry between the actors and build chemistry between the Power Rangers, where they're still trying to feel things out and they're still kind of filling in the blanks for scenes they were writing. They actually had sides from the Breakfast Club, and they would have the actors go through those sides, and they would just kind of read through that. And also that gave the writers and producers and all of them kind of a reference. Okay, so we want that kind of feel for this scene, and here's how we could kind of bring it together. And I thought that was really interesting, and I didn't take that as ripping anything off. I took that as like paying homage. I took that as going back to things that have worked, things that have been good, and not copying them, but figuring out what made them work and what made them good, and then trying to take that and apply it into this. Because this movie was just a unique mixture, because yeah, it had the Breakfast Club feel, but it's a superhero origin story. The other feature on here, Beyond the Rangers, was kind of interesting, because like once you spend time, you know, learning the Rangers and, you know, talking about that Breakfast Club stuff and them getting into characters, and what I really liked about those actors and actresses is learning how excited they were to play those roles, how honored they were. I really like hearing stuff like that. But Beyond the Rangers goes to those characters that were outside the Power Rangers, and the main three that they hit is Rita, Zordon, and Alpha 5. And it's kind of an interesting look, looking at that. The thing that really interested me is when they were talking about Rita specifically, she was a challenge, because the name Rita Repulsa, it's campy. I mean, it's like saying Johnny Evil. You know, that's your bad guy, Johnny Evil. So it's kind of like, okay, so we don't want to emphasize the name too much. There's elements of what she was in the TV show that we want to keep. There's elements that we want to improve upon. We kind of want to keep it the same. And so they had an idea and a vision, but it wasn't a fully fleshed out vision. And then you're listening to Elizabeth Banks talk in her interviews, and I thought it was interesting because she kind of said the same thing. Like, you know, up until they put her in the costume, she was kind of going through the script. She's trying to find her character, and she said she's kind of having a tough time with it. But the moment that costume was on her, she just felt that character and started making choices once in the costume, once in the makeup. And as she started making those choices, like, even the writers, the director, all of them were saying, oh my gosh, the choices she made, everything she did, the cast, the kids playing the Power Rangers was like, man, she made us bring the A+ game, because as soon as she was in there, like, she kind of began to find that character, and that costume made it take form. And honestly, I get that. Like, I've done some, you know, smaller, low-budget independent films and things like that, and I've had those moments where you're looking at a script and it's like, how do you become this character? But then the moment you put on the costume, it's like suddenly the posture changes. My thinking didn't change, it's just I'm now wearing the costume. It's like suddenly I've put on this character. So it was really cool to kind of hear that with Rita. Same thing with Zordon, and it's interesting because, you know, Bryan Cranston, you know, apparently did some voices and stuff for the original TV show, and so they thought that was a really cool Easter egg that now he's in this movie and he's playing Zordon, which I also think that's really, really cool. But it's awesome to hear his thoughts behind the scenes as he's talking about putting this character together. He talked about the challenges of being isolated from the entire cast, kind of sitting on a stool in front of a green screen in makeup and giving this performance. But you could tell even in the special features, like, he enjoyed giving that performance. He enjoyed diving into it. He enjoyed that challenge. And I thought it was really cool when the visual effects guys were watching Bryan Cranston. Like, yeah, they had ideas, they had images, they had things set up for the face and the wall. And then when Bryan Cranston gave a performance, the visual effects guys turned to the producers and said, yeah, okay, this character now has flesh and bones, and we gotta up our game on the visual effects on this, because that changed an awful lot. So I thought that was a really cool thing. The other thing that I thought was interesting, I wondered as I was watching the movies, how much of those suits, the Power Ranger suits, are real, and how much of the Power Ranger suits are CGI. So in that little segment, Suiting Up, I was beyond excited to see that really the suits are real. The little diamonds and things like that, yeah, they have the little motion capture thing so they could put the, like, I don't know, universe in there, like, and then, you know, they did the power, like blood coursing through them, so like, yeah, that stuff was CGI, but the suits were real. And I thought it was cool that Weta made the suits, and Weta's like it's Peter Jackson's thing in New Zealand, and I got to do a tour of Weta. You know, they did the orcs, and they've done more movies than you realize, man. It was kind of cool to get the tour of Weta Design and kind of see the different films they've worked on, all the different things they do. They're pretty revolutionary in what they do, and they were talking about how they had to like invent new technologies, like new ways of doing things, so that the suits could have the appearance of like the kind of technology, the kind of armor, the kind of, I don't know, fiber that the suits were. Like, they had to kind of do a new kind of technology to get that look right. But I was really happy to see that, yeah, the CGI was kind of just touch-ups on like the diamond and the power flowing through them, but otherwise it was real suits. And so they had to make like 2 sets of suits. They had to make sets of suits for the actors, they had to make sets of suits for the stunt people, and then they had to make the suits where you're able to like move and fight. And they talk about how Weta was so willing to work with them and kind of see, okay, so we need to make this part smaller, we need to make this part like this so it's easier to move and do that kick. And so like they were working with them and adjusting things as they go, and they test and they do the different fight scenes. And so that was really cool, and there's something about that that I really like. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that works for me, that they're giant CGI turtles. That works for me in this day and age. With the Power Rangers, like, I kind of wanted to know that the suits were real. I don't know why I wanted to know that. I don't know. I mean, it didn't matter. They looked great to me, but I just wanted to know that. So it was awesome to know the suits were real. One of the things that I really liked about these special features is they spent time interviewing the actors and the director and everybody about the process of ADR. I don't know why that process fascinates me so much, but basically ADR is when you go in, like if you go to the movie and a line is just not clear, there was too much wind blowing, too much sound, they couldn't get the sound right, so you go in and you re-record that line. And all I could think of with ADAR is it's gotta be hard. What I liked about this, it was just, this is for me personally, I don't know how you feel about the filmmaking process, but it was so fascinating because the actors talked about the challenge of it's never as good as when you were actually there and in the moment. You work hard, you do your best to bring up that performance, and Bryan Cranston was really interesting in that review. He's like, yeah, ADR is such a fascinating process. He goes, what I like to do with my directors is when I go in there, you know, we do like 5, 6, 7 takes, and I'll go back and I'll be like, you know, take number 2 was my favorite, and I liked it way more than take number 5. Now, they're going to do whatever they want, but if I tell them which was my favorite, maybe they'll spend some time focusing on that, but I don't know, like to give them options. But to me, that was interesting, because I figure ADR has to be a challenge. I mean, you got to re-record the audio. You have to get that audio synced up to the film so it doesn't look like a badly dubbed movie. It's got to be awesome looking. And as you're doing that, you have to recapture the emotion in a moment where, as an actor, you've probably already been on set and did so much to bring yourself to that point, and now you have to re-record the audio of it and kind of get that back in your voice. So personally, I found that very interesting. Overall, I think I'd probably give these special features like, I think I'd give them an A-, man, because like it showed you a lot of really cool things. I like seeing that the suit was real. That whole process just so fascinates me, and it's really cool just to get that raw look of what it is. I think the special features on this do a really good job with that. So, I mean, nothing compares to the Lord of the Rings Extended Edition Trilogy special features. Those are extensive and amazing. But these were a really good look at a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff and a lot of what they were thinking as they were putting this movie together. If you're planning on picking up Power Rangers anyway, can I encourage you to check out the link in my description? It's my Amazon Associates link. If you click that link and you purchase Power Rangers through Amazon that way, it comes back and it supports Durbania, and of course, I would be super thankful and appreciative if you would do that. So if you're going to pick up this movie anyway, if you would like to check it out digitally or whatever, check that out in the links in my description. While you're there, go ahead in the comments and let me know, did you like this new Power Rangers movie? And click that subscribe button. Next to the subscribe button is that bell. Click that bell. That way you're notified the moment I drop new videos like this one. I got other special feature reviews. I have all kinds of other spoiler-free and spoiler talk reviews for movies. I have ranking videos. I have theological analyses of movies, trailer reactions. Check it all out right here. I'm Durbin. Thank you for checking out Durbania.